Vishnu Puran, it is mentioned that this pastime is actually one of the most important for devotees to hear and absorb our mind in, because it has the ability to enhance our devotion to Lord Krishna. So what's happening here is that King Uttanapad had two queens. We all know that. Who is Uttanapad? Uttanapad is actually the son of Swayambhuva Manu. Swayambhuva Manu, he had a wife known as Shatarupa. Yeah. So these two personalities are actually the first couple that have been conceived by Lord Brahma to generate the human race within the Earth planet. Yeah. So in other words, they are the first couple who began, the human race within this universe. Yeah. So Manu taught his first son Uttanapad about all the essential elements of devotion, all the essential elements of what a Raja Rishi should work on, should focus on. So all the training has been given by Manu. Manu is first mankind, as we all know. So he appeared straight after the pralaya, or the destruction, after the destruction of the universe. When the universe is created, the first man, or the first human that's been created by Lord Brahma, was just him, Manu. So this Uttanapad, he is also a father, as we know, of Dhruva Maharaj. First, he had Suniti as his wife, and from Suniti, he had a child known as Dhruva. And eventually, after some time, he also got married to Suruchi, who was a second wife for him. So from his first wife, Dhruva Maharaj was born, and from his second wife, Uttama, his son Uttama was born. Yeah. So when Uttanapad was married initially with Suniti, when he had his life with Suniti, he had a very blissful life. He had a very happy life. He was very happy with Suniti. He was very happy also with Dhruva, his first son. So he had a very blissful life. But unfortunately, when the second wife came into their life, Suruchi, their life got disturbed, because Suruchi tends to be very cunning, and she wants attention to herself rather than to the other wife. This actually began the decline or the degeneration of the human race. From the very beginning of creation, this kind of ill thought had begun actually from the very beginning. So it actually started from Suruchi, who was very cunning at that time, and she always wanted the attention of the king on herself or on her own son, neglecting the other wife and the other son, known as Dhruva. So this created a lot of tension, within the family. Yeah. So what happened is when she was emotionally abusing him in that manner, the king started ignoring his first wife, Suniti, unfortunately. And not only he was ignoring the first wife, he was also ignoring Dhruva Maharaj. So this is how the deterioration of the human nature, as I said, began. Yeah. So usually, King Uttanapad used to be very, very quiet. Sometimes, the other wife would be very rude, for instance, for Dhruva Maharaj, or even for his first wife. And the king used to be very quiet, as if he hasn't heard it, or as if he didn't know. This is not a very good quality. This is not something that's expected from Raja Rishi. Raja Rishi is supposed to be very fair, and especially his dealings with his own family is expected to be fair. But unfortunately, he began to ignore the rude behavior of Suruchi. Yeah. So in other words, he became a puppet in her hand, in Suruchi's hand. Yeah. So when this was going on, the father Manu found out about it. So when the father Manu found out about it, he started expressing his disappointment towards his son, towards Uttanapad. Yeah. He was very disappointed that Uttanapad has been behaving that way, especially to his first wife and also to Dhruva Maharaj. So eventually Uttanapad became very ashamed of what he was doing. Yeah. So much so, Manu has actually told him that he's a misfit. He's not fit to be a king. He's not fit to be an ideal Raja Rishi. Yeah. So because of that, obviously, Uttanapad was remorsed, and he took the chastisement of his father very seriously, and he started looking into the possibility of making some changes, especially after Durva Maharaj left the palace. He even went out of his way to try to find him, to try to locate him where he is. But unfortunately, Durva Maharaj had gone deep in the forest to meditate by then. Yeah. So, what are the kind of lessons that we can learn from this kind of pastime? This kind of pastimes are there for us in Srimad Bhagavatam to be reminded. First of all, the first lesson that we can learn from this is the ability to focus and not to be overpowered by other evil thoughts or negative things. Because as we do our devotional service, there is a lot of distraction. We get distracted by so many things every day. There could be some kind of negativity. There can be individuals who have evil thoughts to try to bring us down, to try to hinder us, to try to stop us from progressing in our devotional life. So here we can learn from this pastime that focus is very, very important. Uttanapad was not focused. He was affected by his other wife, who had ill thoughts to try to get all the attention to herself. So he lacked focus. He lacked that he is a Rajarishi, and he's supposed to be focused on his duty, especially when it comes to fairness, especially when it comes to justice. That justice has to prevail in our own home before we apply the same justice to our nation. Yeah. So that focus is very important as devotees for us to progress in the spiritual life. The other lesson that we can learn from this pastime is we should never abandon anyone who is dependent on us. Anyone who is dependent on us, especially those who are affectionate towards us, we must not abandon them. Yeah. Here, Uttanapad, we can see that Uttanapad abandoned his most affectionate child, Durva Maharaj, and also Suniti, the first wife, whom he was very affectionate towards in the past. So he abandoned them because he was overpowered by the cunning behavior of the second wife. So the third point that we can learn is never allow any kind of injustice in any circumstance, whether it is in our own family, in our community, in our friend circle, in this case, in the nation. As a Rajarishi, Uttanapada is supposed to be, prevailing justice to the whole nation. But unfortunately, let alone prevailing justice within his nation, even prevailing justice within his family was not possible for him. So because of that, he was not fit to be a king. And that's why Manu chastised him very, very heavily. So here in the translation, we read King Uttanapad had two queens, like we discussed, Suniti and Surichi. Surichi was much more dear to the king. Suniti, who had a son named Duva, was not his favorite. As it's mentioned in the translation, Duva was not considered to be his favorite afterwards. In the beginning, it was. That was the only son he has. But when the second son came and the second wife came, Duva was no longer a favorite person. So when we read the purport, Prabhupada also made very significant points for us to learn. The first point Prabhupada made is Maitreya wanted to describe pious activities. Yeah. So in other words, when he was discussing about this pastime, the whole pastime was not focused on Uttanapad. The whole discussion was not focused on Suniti. The whole discussion was not focused on the other wife or even the other son. But the focus was on Durga Maharaj because Maitreya, being a great devotee of the Lord, he wanted to describe the glories of a great personality, a great devotees of the Lord. In this case, it was Durga Maharaj. Durga Maharaj was a great personality. So most of the description in those chapters is focused primarily around Durga Maharaj. That's what Prabhupada is telling us in the purport. And the second point, Prabhupada is saying Durva's incident was very attractive for devotees. The reason why Maitreya mentioned very heavily about Durva Maharaj's pastime is because these things are relished by devotees. Devotees relish the pastime of other devotees who've been performing wonderfully in their devotional service. And we learned so much from the kind of commitment and devotion Dhruva Maharaj had displayed in those days. And again, the third point Prabhupada made is that we learn how we can detach from material possessions. Material possessions are very difficult to be detached from, especially as we are accumulating wealth. We get so much entangled with all kind of material possessions. We find it very difficult to let go. The test is actually when we transition from the ashrams, from a brahmachari where we have a simple life, we enter into a grahastha life. A grahastha life is a place of accumulation. We don't have any choice, but we have to accumulate all kind of possessions because we have to take care of our good wife, our children. The children will be expanding. We need to have a proper house, proper utilities. So grahastha life is a place of acquiring all kind of possessions. So when the grahastha life is over, when we transition to a vanaprastha life, that is the test for us, how much we are detached from all the things that we've accumulated as a grahastha. Yeah. So the idea is that the third ashram at the retirement stage, we're supposed to be detached. So we will realize sooner or later, those of us who are transitioning will realize how difficult it is to be completely detached from material possessions. But here, Dhruva Maharaj is teaching us from a day one how he can detach the whole attraction he has for the entire kingdom just in a second, just after seeing the beautiful form of the Lord. He was so enlivened to see the beautiful form of the Lord. He just didn't want to have anything more than meditation that he would want to continue on the Lord. So he had no interest to any of the opulences his father had. But somehow or other, because the brother died sooner, he had to take charge of the kingdom, to take care of the kingdom. And he ran it perfectly. And when he had his own children, he passed it on. And again, he became completely detached from all the kingdom and the material possession. He focused purely on his meditation on Lord Vishnu. So the other point Prabhupada made is how we can enhance our devotional services. So many different kind of hints are given. When you read the chapter of the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, you will come across many things that will help us to enhance our devotional service. We can learn from his activities, we can learn from his thoughts, from his thinking. There's so much to learn from his beautiful qualities. And Prabhupada went on to say how we can perform severe austerities. We can learn from Dhruva Maharaj how we can perform severe austerities and penances. Obviously, we can't imitate them because his austerities were extremely difficult to imitate. But at least we can appreciate the fact that devotees are very austere when it comes to pleasing the Lord, and they perform all kind of penances. So at least in our own way, to some limited degree, we can follow the footsteps of Dhruva Maharaj to perform some kind of tapasya in our devotional life. Devotees do all kind of tapasya, but we all have our limits. We may not stretch ourselves to the kind of limits Dhruva Maharaj showed us in Bhagavatam, but actually in our own ways, Krishna appreciates when we go outside of our comfort zone to perform our devotional service. And Prabhupada went on to say, by hearing about these glories, we can also connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every time we hear about the glories of the Lord's devotees, automatically we're connected with the Lord, because the Lord devotees are always meditating and focusing and enhancing their devotion towards Lord Krishna. Because of that, by simply hearing about the pastimes of this kind of great personalities, we should be able to remember and focus ourselves and connect ourselves with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One of the last points Prabhupada made is that the exemplary acts of Dhruva generate feeling of devotion. All the exemplary act, every act he performed as a devotee is exemplary. So immediately it invokes our devotion towards Lord Krishna. So in that way, it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, listening and hearing about the pastime and the activities of such kind of great personalities is very beneficial for our progress in our devotional life. So in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, the episode of Dhruva is considered to be one of the most important. as Maitreya also indicated to us that he was very keen to focus on describing the glories of Dhruva Maharaj. Yeah. So the episode of Dhruva Maharaj within the Bhagavatam actually covers 5 chapters. It's a lot covered. It's wonderful. We're only discussing about one verse today, one verse, one shloka. But actually, the entire pastime of Dhruva Maharaj actually covers 5 chapters within the Srimad Bhagavatam. And these chapters, they describe the glorious qualities of Dhruva Maharaj from a young age, since he was 5-year-old. You can imagine. From age 5 onwards, he performed so many wonderful activities. So those things are summarized for us to relish within those 5 chapters of the episodes of Srimad Bhagavatam covering about Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj was very hurt by the bitter words of his stepmother. That's one of the reasons why he left the kingdom to meditate and to look for Lord Vishnu. Yeah. So leaving home, obviously, he performed all kind of austerities. As you go through the chapters, you will learn the kind of austerities that he performed. And eventually, because of his sincere nature and his austerity, Narada Muni had appeared. And he gave him full instructions how to continue chanting the glories of the Lord in a way that he can eventually attain the beautiful darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So eventually, after he meditated, he had the opportunity to have the beautiful darshan of the Lord, Lord Vishnu. And obviously, after seeing that beautiful form, he had zero attraction to any of the material possessions. Initially, he wanted to request the Supreme Personality of Godhead to have his father's kingdom. But after seeing the beautiful darshan, the beautiful form of the Lord, he had no interest. Immediately, he gave up the attraction he has for the material world, and he continued focusing. But eventually, because the Yakshashas were attacking the kingdom at that time, and his father passed away, he had to take the kingdom from his younger son, who also was fighting with the Yakshashas and who killed him. The younger brother was killed by the Yakshashas. Because of that, Dhruva Maharaj had the obligation to take care of the kingdom. So when he was taking care of the kingdom, he displayed the ideal Raja Rishi qualities. Dhruva Maharaj is known for his super qualities, and he displayed all those wonderful qualities. And eventually, he wind up his kingdom, and he handed over, his kingdom to his children, and then he went to the forest to continue with his austerity. In brief, that's exactly what Dhruva Maharaj has done in his life, showcasing us the beautiful nature of participating in all kind of devotional activities. He showcased the unbreakable determination. He was extremely determined, not only to see Lord Vishnu, to also continue with his austerity and penances to please the Lord. Yeah, which is very hard to emulate. Nobody can emulate what Dhruva Maharaj has done. Quality-wise, we learned so many wonderful qualities about Dhruva Maharaj from Srimad Bhagavatam. As you go through the various chapters, you will see that Dhruva Maharaj had so many wonderful qualities. One of the wonderful quality he has is respect. He is extremely respectful to all living entities, not just to the Lord, not just to the devotees of the Lord, but to all kind of living entities. Yeah, he is extremely respectful. His grandfather Manu actually advised him at one time, because he was severely killing all the Yakshashas. One of the Yakshashas killed his brother. Because of that, he was determined to destroy and get rid of all the Yakshashas. But the grandfather Manu was compassionate to these Yakshashas, and he instructed Dhruva Maharaj not to continue killing these Yakshashas. And because of that, because Dhruva showed so much respect to his grandfather, immediately he withdrew from all those activities. So that shows the kind of respect he has for anyone and everyone, including his grandfather. The other point mentioned in Bhagavatam is Kuvera. Kuvera is considered to be the father of the Yakshashas at that time. And when Kuvera appeared in front of Durva Maharaj at one point, Durva Maharaj, although he knew he is the father of the Yakshashas, and although he knew that he was fighting against the Yakshashas, but he was extremely peaceful towards Kuvera. He showed him so much respect and so much respectful attitude by bowing down and paying full respect to Kuvera. And Kuvera at that time was extremely happy by Dhruva Maharaj. He gave him a benediction, all kind of benediction. One of the benediction Kuvera offered him is that, he told him that he can request anything he wants. You will be able to give him that benediction. But Dhruva Maharaj at that time, because he wasn't greedy, that one of his nature is that he doesn't have any kind of greed in his consciousness. Because of that, he only asked for unflinching faith and remembrance of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is what is expected from a devotee, and not to have any kind of greed. So he has unrelenting devotion to the Lord. He never had, or he never showed any kind of pride. He was never proud, for even for receiving that kind of benediction from Kuvera. He never showed any kind of proud. So in that way, we can learn so much from this wonderful personality, Dhruva Maharaj. And it is encouraged that we go through the various chapters to extract all this goodness out of these chapters, to learn the kind of ideal devotional behavior that's been displayed by this great personality. So much can be said. I know we got limited time, half an hour. I think some of you have to go to work or whatever. So we got a couple of minutes. If anyone wants to add one or two items, wonderful items, you're welcome to do so, or even question. And I will give you the audience back to you. Has anyone has any comment to make in this wonderful verse? Sounds all good. Let's have a look.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you have explained very nicely. You gave all kind of thoughts to us that initially how was the Suniti and Suruchi, how the deterioration started, and gave us a lot of good ideas, which I never thought in myself that we did not thought that deeply. No. So you did reflected very nicely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother Nero. Appreciate it very much. Any other points or questions? I had to stop at 7 o'clock, so forgive me.
Okay. Thank
Madhupati
you.
Prabhu, is that the right time? I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much, Mahaprasad Govinda Prabhu.
You're welcome.
We would like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day and week ahead.
Thank you.
A very special day today. Bahulastami, appearance of Radha Kund.
Oh.
Yeah. And yeah. We like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jina Singha, Jina Singha, Jai Jai Singha, Prahlade, Jaya Padam, Kapadam, Ugravira Mahavishnu, Jalantam Sarvatomukham, Narsingam, Bhishtanam, Bhadram, Mrityam, Mrityam, Namamyaham. Narsingha Bhagavana ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. For our humble obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavinda ki jai, Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Premanande.
Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, God.
Hare
Hare.